podcast.
Yeah, podcast. Let's
It's a
get this started.
podcast, Don't forget that bit, the part where we actually say it's a podcast.
Yeah, no, I didn't read the title card properly. Um, right, so let's just start off with the premise here. So this is Dingo FM. This is a YouTube broadcasted free podcast. No money, no nothing like that. To you guys, the viewers, if there are any right now, right? And so this will be hosted. When will we host it?
You kind of got out for a second there, friend. Anyway, so Dingo FM.
Yeah.
What we want to do is we just want to cover different kind of stories, news stories, any stories that are really relevant, I suppose, to the world.
Yeah, anything we generally...
Even some stories that aren't relevant, really.
Yeah. No, anything we generally just give a fuck about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really. It's really that at the end of the day, yeah. I have to agree with you.
Yeah. So, as of now, just Dingo FM. What kind of time schedule do you think we should set up? What days do you think we'll be doing this?
Twice a week.
Twice
on
a week.
Weekends. Weekend podcast.
Weekends.
I think
We'll maybe do a Friday and then a weekends.
Yeah, weekend kind of podcast seems pretty good. It's available to a lot of people. Anyway, so what do we want to start on?
Well, I actually wanted to break down on the American elections currently running. As you all know, Donald Trump and Hilary Clinton have been in a constant rival for the past quite a while actually. And yeah, I just wanted your thoughts and opinions on the current elections. Yeah.
Well, look, this isn't anything hard to conceive of for anybody really with a brain. Both candidates are absolutely atrocious. Really. They're both horrible candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some policies are fit states than others, but then again, some just as bad, equally shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, equally as bad. They're both terrible. They've got quite a bit of dirt on each other. I mean, personally, I would rather prefer Trump. There's lots of dirt on Hillary, enough to make a mountain back at this time. But the thing is, they're both terrible. Trump is not intelligent enough to run the country.
No,
Hillary is just going to send it down the drain. I mean, so would Trump, but I mean, Hillary's... Yeah, she just wants power. She just wants power.
It's generally the worst of both worlds in this scenario. It's like you end up with an ultimatum of how it's a choose your own path on how you want to destroy your country, pretty much. Yeah, she
just wants control and she wants just power. Yeah, but I mean, I can't see any kind of situation where either one of these candidates really does something that's very good for the country without fucking something up.
I've got to stop you there on something. I've generally read through and watched a lot of the the informational parts and the policies they're trying to bring into America, and honestly it seems that they're going for they're putting the policies out there just to get those votes. It doesn't sound like they're going to go through with anything really. I mean, Donald Trump and the wall and everything are ridiculous statements that he's claimed.
Yeah, Trump is crazy, man. Fucking, I'm gonna build a wall and make the Mexicans pay for it.
Yeah,
you can't be serious.
Who does that? It just sounds like, it's actually it generally scares me because America's a big influence on the rest of the world. You know what I mean? It's
especially us. They're so powerful. Trade and everything.
Yeah, they do actually have a lot of connections around the world, and I can definitely see having either Hillary or Trump being the president, having some serious issues there. There seems to be a bit of conflict, and well, it just seems that once I just feel that if they do become the presidents there, they will end up just making a grave mistake that, hopefully, cross my fingers, doesn't end. The not the Earth itself, but cause a war, because that's the
Yeah, well,
last
I
thing we
I
need
think
now.
something big is imminent, like some kind of political
Political
movement
unrest, yeah, some
between
sort of.
like Russia and America. Something's gonna happen. I just have a bad feeling about it. But honestly, looking at everything that happens as well, yeah, there's something bad's gonna happen in
Yeah,
at least a few years.
yeah. I did also see the topic on Russia. I read that a bit earlier. Um, I don't actually. I mean, I do have my doubts on not the legitimacy of the claims, but of the after effects, because I can only imagine how devastating uh, that this could become if this escalates any further. And the 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 political candidates are so wrapped up in their own little world of, how many votes can I gain from going to this state, shipping themselves across America, trying to harbor as many citizens as they can, under their wings. And it just seems that they've diverged from the main point, and that's to, in all honesty, to keep America safe. You know what I mean? It's to keep America stable, whether it be financially or
Oh, here
politically.
I got a pretty interesting story here. It's new. 2 days ago, on Wednesday, right? Two teens arrested in Sydney for a terror sting.
Oh,
So what happens
uh,
is two teenagers were arrested by the counterterrorism police squad,
mm,
or the counterterrorist police in Sydney, and they were both 16-year-olds.
mm,
Um, and they were seized with knives and taken into custody.
yeah. Well,
So
I mean, I was watching. It came up on the news this morning, and I did see it, and I was like, well, do you find that a bit extreme? And I sat there for a minute, and I actually considered, like, are they taking it too far? And then I realised that, well, the police, the enforcement do have a point, though, because with all of the conflict between, ISIS and all of the Iraqi armies and all that, and
yeah,
all of
yeah.
the military groups that are just floating around the earth currently. Not literally floating around the earth. I'd kind of be worried then. Um, but I just thought to myself, well, these are hard times. You know what I mean? Like a drop of a hat in some minor location, or some complaint or remark made about anyone could just start a massive crisis. It just sounds devastating to what the possibilities are. And I thought that Australia, you know well, I mean, they both had knives, and I believe the evidence they had under them was they had evidence of them plotting and planning to attack somewhere. Do you have information on where they planned to attack? I didn't actually hear that part while I was there.
Yeah, well, honestly, Trump's right about one, well, a few things, but one thing in particular is radical Islam. It doesn't just affect Australia, especially in America. It's a big problem with, because they've got so much different shit going on with like racial tensions rising because of
Yeah,
fucking Black
yeah,
Lives
yeah,
Matter, which
and
is just
then
stupid.
yeah, black,
Police shootings, like the police being shot by
yeah.
like
Well,
just
I'd
these
like
terrorists.
after
They're pretty
after
much
we
they should be a terrorist organization at this point, labeled one. And
yeah.
then you've got ISIS and stuff, people being
Yeah,
radicalized.
I mean, I would definitely, after we talk about we'll just call this segment the radicalization of the world, right, or Australia, just keep it at that. I'd like to talk about the Black Lives Movement a bit later. But generally, the events, it's actually becoming commonplace now for people to go out there and seek refuge with Islamic extremist groups. Well, not only Islamic, it's not only that. I'm not claiming that, but I do believe that it's starting to become a serious problem, and not only because people are leaving their country and fighting against each other and just bringing more devastation to the world and hate. It's just for the fact that you can really take away from what people do, like what kind of person they are. Like with radical Islam, there's a lot of controversy surrounding it, and it's quite interesting, actually, because I at one point I did think, I mean, I'm not going to deny this myself, I did honestly think that yeah, I honestly did think that a lot. I honestly did think it was most Muslims were. So sorry for the delays here, guys. I was just reading something. The most Muslims are.
Yeah, so it's all good. You want to move on to something else?
Yeah, I got a bit stuck there. I went off on a tangent there. Sorry about that. Yeah, well,
Um,
what do you want to talk about?
what else?
Any
What would
interesting?
how you want to? Okay, let's talk about Black Lives Matter because they're still a growing group that are doing terrible things in the name of like righteousness,
Yeah,
really. But I mean, it's just more than just a normal movement now. At this
yeah.
point, it's
No,
really
it's
really
becoming
fucked.
it's
Some of them
becoming.
are in Australia and whatnot
Mm,
too. I heard about a rally in Melbourne that was
yeah,
on not too long ago.
I mean, well, here's my 2 cents on the matter. I mean, I can only hope that that a lot the countries start to kick up and realize that this is becoming a problem, and it's the problem isn't the Black Lives Moves Matter, uh, Black Lives Matter movement, alright. It's not that itself. It's the ideals behind it. It's the reasoning for it. See, it's because a lot of the people there, I've seen some videos of people at the events and everything, and all the people, they're all united against one belief that black people are being undermined and that they're being
Oh yeah,
killed
and
off in
there are
society.
people. There are actually genuinely people, like sorry, actual people out there in the world that genuinely believe that racism can only happen from a white person to a black person or any
Yeah,
kind of
it,
ethnicity. That's
yeah,
it.
and
It's bullshit.
the terribly ironic thing about that statement right there is that just saying that itself, just saying only white people can be racist, anything like that. I'm not generalizing anyone here. I'm not saying that everyone believes this. What I'm saying is that anyone that does believe this should sit back and go, well, hey, wait a minute. I've just condemned an entire race of people to one belief, and most of the time, this all stems from the common argument that, white people have been privileged and that they've ruled society for generations. And it's just sickening to see people be converted to this cause. You know what I mean? It's just,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Mm. You got anything on the matter?
Sorry.
Yeah, you got anything on the matter? Like the, the topic? Yeah. Like any ideas on it, any thoughts on like what should be done. I have,
Well,
I
on
mean,
what should be done?
yeah, like to
Well,
be honest, I would take,
there's not much that really can be done against
yeah,
that such a massive group of people without enforcing some kind of anti-protest law, which
yeah,
affects really everybody's
yeah,
like freedom of speech.
yeah, and to say, and it's
I mean,
really,
sure, protesting and whatnot can get out of hand, but I mean, suppressing people's right to speak and
mm,
gather in a public display of,
but it's
I
it's
don't know,
the
protest
it's
in general,
yeah,
that's kind
it's
of
generally
dogmatic.
in today's society, which is the everyone's a unique individual and so special to the world. It's generally pretty hard to condemn someone now, even if they're so wrong. It's not even funny. And I'm not saying they're wrong because of their beliefs. I'm saying they're wrong because it's just they're so flawed. I'm not saying they're flawed people, you know what I mean, but I'm saying the movement they're following, the thing they're choosing to believe in, is just so. It's just what they've done is sick. Really, it's it's actually amazing, and I can only see this as such a big problem if this escalates. And on the news lately and all that, you can see it's starting to gain traction, and it's eventually going to hit something. You know what I mean? It's yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah. Well, I mean, generally, if we want to talk about this topic more, we we'll move on to it at another point, or some certainty if we bring it up on a tangent or something and continue the conversation from
Well,
there.
what do you think about the legalization of cannabis? Oh,
You,
I hate that name for it.
can
Mary Jane. I
yeah,
like to call it that.
cannabis. It's just such a weird name. But where is the legal? You mean in medical fields, or like you mean like legalization for
I
like
mean, what do you think of it in general? Like, you think it should be legalized and whatnot?
well see, I do actually, well, I mean, I myself have, I do have some problems, like as with every topic, there's problems and answers to each thing. And so it's kind of hard to say, well, weed's completely bad, right? Because it does have some practical uses. And so when you put it into effect of saying, well, what if a little Susie over here is has got some sort of serious kidney damage, and the only way she can soothe her pain is with medical marijuana or substances like that. Obviously, not.
You're cutting out a bit. You're cutting out a bit for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I am recording the stream audio perfectly fine, so don't worry about that part. But generally, it's pretty. Ah, what was that? I think it was a pterodactyl in my background. Um, there are a lot of uses for it, but then again, it's like another problem is like if people do tip the edge on how much they take, or if they obtain it legally or illegally, right? It could lead to worse things. You know what I mean? Like obviously people do end up wanting to get a better kick. It's like caffeine. You drink it once, it's amazing, and then drink it again, and it gets a bit worse and worse each time till you need to take 5-6 cups a day just to keep up. And so it's that kind of mindset which I have. It's the build up that can happen, but in all fairness, if you were to keep it
Yeah,
like
yeah.
stable between people, it would definitely be a regular thing. Like
The thing
obviously,
is, what I think about it really is, I mean, it's just a plan. It hurts nobody. It doesn't do anything. It won't affect you in in any way unless you do like ridiculous amounts of it to where your brain is just really slow. But it
yeah.
doesn't do anything.
Well,
All it does is it's just really recreational, as well as its medicinal use is just it's crazy helpful, man.
yeah. Well, I mean, I do also share that mindset that it's like it may have a lot of uses as well, and it may also it may lead to worse things if people don't certainly like the buzz it gives off. But what I'm really interested in is the topic on whether it should be legalized or not, the very topic itself. And it's, well, if you were to legalize something just because the public vetoed for it, well, if you were to make it illegal, people would still obtain it anyway. You know what I mean? Like, if the government were to make it legal, right? If Sydney government were to make it legal and were to go ahead and say, well, people in Australia can go ahead and use this, whatever the current prime minister, I don't give a shit about our prime ministers, they're useless currently.
Yeah, it'll also eliminate, the black markets and
Yeah,
everything around it. It
yeah,
would
and
ridiculously inflate the economy, really, because it can
yeah,
be used for or
yeah,
can be used for
as
so many different things. It'll eliminate black
yeah,
markets,
as you've
and the
seen,
best part is when you kind of allow that kind of thing, it takes so much money away from putting it on the police
yeah,
and
and
making
what
it
I
their
wanted to, what I
responsibility.
also, yeah, what I wanted to bring up on that was a really good point at the end on the police there. It was there was a state in America. Well, most of the states, right? Well, not most of them, but a few of them did legalize marijuana. And what was an immediate impact? 6 or 7 months after that, months after that, legislation decision was they saw a huge increase in revenue from that market. It was basically an untapped market, and so it did actually take away a lot of the gangs, all the the rival gangs and Bloods and Crips and all that down in the South and areas like that of
Oh yeah,
America,
yeah.
and they
Anyone watching right
yeah
now, be free to discuss anything in the chat. Discuss with us. Ask any questions. Bring up any topics. We'll check them out and probably talk about them.
yeah
Yeah, just feel free to contribute anything. But yeah, yeah. What were you saying? I was just chucking out that reminder there.
I did actually wanna bring that up. Well, since gangs were becoming such an issue a while back, it's generally pretty interesting to take into account how far they dropped. Over time, like if you were to legalize one of their main products, obviously, they've got heroin and cocaine and imported and smuggled, illegal
I think
goods
every
and
drug should
contraband
really
and
be
stuff.
legalized. I mean, sure,
But
put more limitations on some than others, but doing that's going to eliminate so much crime and black markets,
yeah,
and
but then again,
that'll
it's
give the government much more money to kind of treat anybody who gets onto these things and has problems, because then rehab centers can be really made
yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
focused and
I
developed
definitely
rather than spending so much money on the police trying to crack down on all of it.
yeah. Well, I firsthand have seen some of the effects of some pretty hardcore drugs, right? I've seen the effects of ice, right? Knew a person. I'm not gonna go into specifications, right? Because this isn't Doc's box, right? So basically, it was pretty. I mean, I would definitely, if I were to, you know, commandeer this decision, I would definitely go ahead and decide on whether or not it would be to make some of the worse, the hard drugs a bit more illegal than others. Well, not illegal, but a lot harder to restrict, because they can severely damage someone. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it gets pretty bad. Um, I mean, Sydney, King's Cross is a prime example of that. But generally, it's pretty bad. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, what
Um.
are your thoughts?
So yeah, if anyone out there that's listening is enjoying the podcast, just feel free to leave a like or subscribe as well, because we're going to be doing this about 2 times every week, maybe more.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, let's bring up some other topics relevant to hopefully relevant to the viewers. Let's now what are
You want to take a break real quick?
yeah, yeah, when do you
Um.
want to do that?
We can run some music through while we have a break. Um. Yeah. So yeah, make sure if anyone out there is watching and enjoying, leave a like or subscribe, or preferably do both. Yeah, and also feel free to type anything in the chat. We're just gonna have a quick break. Um, Yeah.
Alright guys, I'm just gonna mute the audio on both and find out how to play some nice music through OBS right here. So just mute the audio now, and I'll be right back, guys. Enjoy yourselves.
podcast continue.
Alright then. Rightio. We're good. So, back from breaking. What do you want to talk about? Anything on your mind?
Sorry.
Well,
You cut out for a second there.
What do you want to talk about?
Oh, there's too much. Ah, crap, my knuckle kills. What's something that happened recently?
Oh well, okay.
I completely zoned out for a second.
Yeah, right. Well, let me just think of some recent events. Well, we did. I do want to bring up some a really interesting topic actually. It interests me personally. And it's actually quite a wide topic. More people would actually know of it themselves. It's a lot of people do know about it. It's generally limited to one area. And what I wanted to talk about, or what I am going to talk about, is botting in video games. And yeah, I thought.
What about YouTube?
Oh, you mean like sub-botting and stuff like that?
And social media and whatnot.
Yeah. No, I do actually think botting not only directly affects the industry itself, whether it be a small games company or, some person, just making by to keep their servers up, just one more week. I do think that botting is a serious problem in the gaming, not only gaming but social aspects of the internet. It's not it in recent times it's grown a bit more high end than what it used to be. Botting used to be, just some guys, basically just running a set of scripts, to keep their character running in one place or doing, an action for a certain period of time. And I do think that as it's grown out of this, it's grown into a social aspect. Botting's become like a means to an end. You know what I mean? It's become like you either bot for one of two things. You either bot for popularity or just getting out there. So I have seen some YouTubers that are just starting out, just like us, and I have seen them botting and doing stuff like that. It's generally pretty sad to see subbots and stuff like that, because why would you want an audience that doesn't listen to you? You know what I mean? And why would you want an audience that doesn't? Well, it's bots. It's nothing. It's no one. It's no personality. No one to interact with. It's just a husk, and that's your audience. I honestly couldn't keep a channel up with that as the premise. It's a very sad world we live in today. It doesn't directly affect the world, but generally botting is a pretty big problem on the internet nowadays, especially with sites that do have you pay for items, and you can do the workaround with bots and save yourself the time. But it's really, is it ethical?
What do you think is going to die off? Like, what kind of games and whatnot do you think are going to die off within the next kind of year or so? Few years, sorry. Like, yeah.
See, with the industry nowadays, a lot of games, you actually see games dying off less and less, and the reasoning for that is that, well, it's not the amount of people that play the game. It's mostly the games that are, well, you can't really kill off a single player game, can you? Because no matter what year it is, as long as someone has the hardware, they can pick it up and play it. You know what I mean? Like a timeless classic like Portal and such, for an example. It's a really good example of a really well done game that's timeless.
The thing is, I think if game makers or producers, developers, whatever. Like, for example, Bethesda.
Yeah.
The more they start or stop listening to
Mm.
fans
Well,
and the community and how their games run work, and the more they stop listening to feedback, the more their product is going to start to decline in quality, to be honest.
yeah, no, that is a good topic to bring up, and just before I hop onto the declining quality in recent games topic, I'm just going to bring up the ideas of yeah, back to the botting topic. Sorry, well, sorry, not botting. Games dying off. It You can really only kill off multiplayer games, can't you? I mean, an example of a game that was killed off. It wasn't killed off because of decline in players. It was killed off because of its publisher. And the game I'm talking about is Need for Speed World. It was licensed. Or it was effectively run by I believe it was EA. In truth, I'll have to check that up later. Um, and if it is, yeah, I'll just correct myself in the description. But generally, it was a really good game. I did play it back. How long ago was it? It was a few years ago that I played it, and it was a really well made game. It's just it didn't gain that popularity. You know what I mean? It didn't gain that hype. And I found that really sad. It was something amazing that could have been done there, but it, greedy publishers just ruined it. But yeah, back to games dying off. I can only really imagine games dying off that are back from the like multiplayer games from the 2005 era, and
Yeah.
and onwards. Well, not onwards, but more and more you keep seeing servers with 3 people online and no one else playing, and then that person eventually just leaves with their friends and doesn't play that game anymore. The game's effectively just dead. No one plays it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
It,
I was
just the
thinking
more
about,
decline in quality, the less people
yeah,
are going,
the
because
less the less
people
people that
start
are
to
gonna
see
play
it
it.
for what it is.
Yeah. And so that's definitely something that's happened over the
And in a
years.
way, the less and less quality that's put in, the less respect they kind of have for the customer or
Yeah.
consumer that buys it.
And yeah, definitely. See, companies that do their their PR right, their support right, definitely being Bethesda and a few other select developers, game companies out there, do it right. They read the feedback, they optimize their games, they make sure everyone's happy with the final product. And even if it isn't, considered the final product because it's constantly being updated, it's considered an extremely good game because all the advice has been taken in from the community, and let's be honest here, developers don't have time to sit down with their staff and go, well, okay, guys, I'm gonna need you all to fill in a mandatory 2 hours of World of Warcraft and fill out a experience survey afterwards. Like nothing like that happens, and obviously I don't want that to happen. That was just an out there example of crazy corporatism. Um, but generally, I do think that a lot of companies are neglecting their consumers. They're treating them like stats and not living, breathing gamers, really.
Yeah, no, the consumer starts to see the fault.
Yeah, and I mean, I did. I played a bit of Fallout 4 a way back on a friend's computer because I'm currently running on a, well, not the best, right? I'm not the best setup, and so I saw Fallout 4, and well, I'm like, well, why doesn't that look and feel like New Vegas and all that? Back to 3 and all that. And so 3 and New Vegas and before that, they all had this certain aesthetic to them. You know what I mean? I don't say
No,
aesthetic
yeah, for
as
sure,
in
for
like,
sure.
yeah, they always have that feel to them. And
They always have some kind of thing that
like
grabs you
just
into it.
just
Gets
like
you
a
interested.
gist, a personality to the game, and so a good, oh my god, an amazing example of this. I know we're ranting on about Bethesda a lot, but an amazing example of this would be Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited. Now, I did get this game on sale, and despite my computer being absolute bad, doesn't even matter if I gripe on about that. It was, well, they tried their best to make it as Skyrim, and you know what? They didn't spend that long in it, but I appreciate the time that they put into it. I appreciate,
Yeah, they still did put
yeah,
some
they
relative good work
yeah,
for how long they said it would
yeah,
be until it came out.
and
But
so
I feel that it doesn't match anywhere near Skyrim.
that's definitely true. But when you come into when you bring them together, it's kind of like comparing an apple and an orange. You know what I mean? It's like, well, Skyrim's a single player experience, and it was well developed towards the single player area, and
Oh yeah, they both
yeah,
have their own kind of
they both
uniqueness to
have
them for
they
sure.
both have their positives and negatives. Is what I'm trying to say here. But what I did find was a while back, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited, did release a news update on their One Tamriel update, in which, originally the game was split up into many different areas, right? And so,
And with that,
yeah,
sorry
yeah,
to interrupt,
no,
but
no
with
problem.
that, you can see how Bethesda kind of work into their games with updates and
Yeah,
how they work with the community.
yeah,
When
yeah.
when looking at someone like Rockstar, who's
Yeah,
they're
Rockstar's
massive,
community team is, oh my god,
but
they
it's atrocious.
yeah, no,
I still remember when I got Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah, when I
yeah,
got GTA 5. I remember, like, as soon as it came out, they promised
they
that
promised so many things,
by
and
the end of the year,
yeah, within, given it,
I forgot what it was called, like the map makers or whatever,
yeah,
and
the
all the
custom
editing
map
that
makers, the
people could
editors, and
do.
then heists and all that. Heist was a
Yeah, and
big
heists
thing.
especially. It's appalling how long it took them
Yeah,
heists to get out.
but
It took them 3 years, I
yeah,
think.
and I mean, even if I can say all this, I can keep bashing Rockstar on, however long it takes, but in all seriousness, they did get it fixed in the end. Is which they at
Oh,
least,
but I think it's
yeah,
appalling for how much money
yeah,
they have for
they
it. It was
did.
like
They made
a
so
hundred
much.
seventy million
Yeah,
dollar budget, I do believe.
yeah, and that was their budget. That wasn't their returns on the game.
Yeah,
That was,
it was 265 million dollars.
yeah, and so
How
yeah,
ridiculous is that? Sitting
yeah,
at development.
and so I think Grand Theft Auto was never really meant to be a
I
multiplayer
mean, sure, it's a
experience. You know what I
massive
mean?
game and stuff, and it
Yeah,
really has to live up to
yeah,
expectations. But I mean, it wasn't that great, to
yeah.
be
No,
honest.
I
It was a fun
definitely.
game, but I would enjoy the old Grand Theft Autos much more better.
Yeah, no,
Don't get me
I
wrong,
did
some of the
play.
storyline was interesting, it was humorous,
Yeah,
it really
and
grabbed
the
you,
and the
but it didn't
characters
have a kind of
the characters had depth,
feel to
and
it.
what I can say for GTA 5, with all the shit I give them, I can top it off to tell them that they chose the best characters possible for the game. I can only Their
Oh yeah,
personalities were
yeah,
so well
that's
made.
true.
Yeah,
My thing with the characters is I can't really empathize them or I would say kind of bond or
yeah, no,
put myself in their shoes like I
yeah,
could with like Nico,
because
for example.
because
Nico, dude,
Nico was like
he was a real good
yeah,
character.
Nico was like a regular old dude, coming in from out of country to meet with his
From
cousin.
Russia. He was just
Yeah,
a Russian dude that
and
ended up
so
getting caught in
yeah,
all
and so
this serious stuff.
you could really get a sense for Nico's situation, and how, especially have you ever done the dating missions with Nico, where he
No,
takes out,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And he goes out
Yeah,
the
and
chick.
that was, I saw Nico, and I'm like, damn, Nico,
The
that's,
city, man. The
yeah,
city. It's just
it's so vibrant.
It's just a
so
nice
yeah.
feeling when you like, I don't know, for example, you've got a nice atmosphere around you. For me personally, if I go play some kind of game like that,
Yeah.
a dark room, getting invested into it is nice,
Yeah.
because then you just like drive around, especially when you're new to it and you get to explore. That's the best. You just drive around the city at nighttime. That's like just like New York, really.
Yeah.
It's just it's interesting. It's a fun
Mm.
experience, and then when you start getting the cops after you, it really makes that atmosphere.
Yeah, well, you know, back. Let's backtrack a bit, back to way back towards the customer service side of Bethesda, and I want to talk about this earlier. Is originally Bethesda released, one Tamriel as, Tamriel split up into all these parts, and all the level. I found the game extremely difficult in some areas, and it was because what had happened is they had made the level scaling for the monsters. If a monster was 2 levels higher than you, just two or even one, they were extremely difficult. If they were 4 levels higher, you and your friend would just get torn apart, and I found that really upsetting about the game because I wanted
I
to
like
I wanted
I
to
like how they can manage, like, as long as some kind of, you know, a development, just some devs like that can implement a fun and cooperative
yeah.
multiplayer,
Yeah, and I
then
feel
that's a
that
good thing.
ESO didn't do that. It was ESO never was fun for me. But what I did find interesting is when I heard the news of the one Tamriel Unlimited update. It was that they would make all the zones scaling to your level, right? So not the zones level, right? Obviously, that scale a bit, 2 or 3 levels higher, just to make it a bit more of a challenge in some areas. But I could never travel across like the areas because I'd keep getting killed by these monsters that are 5, 10 levels higher than me that just thrash me, and so and so I ended up just quitting. And once the one Tamriel Unlimited update comes out, which I believe is somewhere around November, I do plan to go back to it and give it a try again because you can see Bethesda went and looked at their customer support and saw, well, this is too hard for us. That well, these monsters are too difficult, and I see problems with their scaling, and I could completely agree with them. But what a lot of game developers nowadays don't do is they don't listen to their target audience or even their audience at all. They just ignore them and just keep posting things that'll keep rolling in that money. And you may not know this because
Nowadays, it's kind of
it's
more
the
and more seeming
staple. Yeah,
like a money thing.
yeah. I know what you
Anyway,
mean. A good,
I think we should move on.
yeah,
What do we want to do now? Speak about? Do you think we should wrap this up? I think that's pretty good.
yeah. I'm just gonna check up the time now. We're around 50 minutes in. Do you wanna just Yep. All right. Well, end the
All
stream here,
right,
guys.
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, guys.
Thanks to anybody that is or was watching. It'd be much appreciated if anybody leaves a like or even subscribes.
Comment even
Even
if you're
both
watching
is
this video in the
very much
future.
appreciated. Yeah, or if you're watching this video, listening to it from the future, it would just be very good to support us and kind
Yeah.
of start to bring us out there a bit.
Yeah.
Because
No.
we're just doing this for the entertainment of anybody
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
that's interested in this kind of
Well, we
format of a podcast where we just kind of discuss
just
anything
anything.
from
Yeah.
around the scale.
We both really appreciate any responses or feedback you guys give, and I find that if I can if my Gmail doesn't mess up, I'll check the feedback and give you guys a reply.
Yeah,
But
just
yeah,
leave a
any
comment or anything, and we'll just positive or negative.
positive or
Happy to
negative doesn't
receive it.
matter. You guys wanna hate us out. We're
If you want to contribute
shitlords. Yeah,
anything, it just helps us to
yeah. Just anything, guys. All right. So thanks, and I'd like to
Thanks. See you guys on the
say
next one.
thanks to all listening to stream. Stream will be live sometime this weekend. One more coming out this weekend, and then next Friday after that. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get a schedule kind of sorted, and we'll let you know on the next podcast. But
All right.
we'll see you guys on the next one
We'll
if you
see
want to
you all.
listen.
Enjoy yourselves. Thanks for watching.
Have a good night. Have a good
This has
Friday.
been
Have a good weekend. Oh, the
this has
weekend's
been
up now.
this has been Dingo FM.